imagine the very end of 2009, and you look back over the last 8 months. Oh my gosh, I have doubled or tripled my sales since Affleck 2009. Would that be good? How? Bike Sakali? Woo! I believe that you and you and you, I believe that each and every one of us in this room this afternoon really can double or triple our sales in the next 8 months. Now, I want to ask you a question. How many of you would like to do that? Can I see your hand? And hands are up. Is there anyone in this auditorium that says, Al, I do not need to double or triple my sales? Can I see your hand? Well, let me ask you another question. How many of you say, Al, I just don't want to raise my hand? Can I see your hand? There are 4 focal points for highly successful sales people. The outline this afternoon is very simple. It's A-R-G-O. I want you to write that down. The outline is simply A-R-G-O. And that's what we're going to talk about. There's only 4 key areas that you and I, as professional financial advisors, need to focus on. I'll never forget knocking on my first door. I was scared to death. I'd been recruited just several months earlier, and eventually it came time for me to begin my sales career, and I was in college. How many of you have been selling since college or before? Can I see your hand? And a lot of hands across this auditorium. I only had one problem back when I was in college, and my problem was I could not speak correctly, confidently, or in any way coherently. Now, you need to know how to speak in order to sell. Twe pu twe? Right or not? My sales manager, she looked at me and she said, Al, you don't need to know how to sell. We're going to teach you everything that you need to know. So she put me through sales school. She began to teach me and train me. And I went out to knock on my first door. Slam! I knocked on another door. Slam! I knocked on another door. Slam! How many of you understand rejection? Can I see your hand? My first day turned into 1 week. 1 week turned into 2 weeks. I sold absolutely nothing. I'll never forget knocking on a door, being totally rejected, and then going down and seeing a man watering his garden. And I knew that that man was a prospect, not a suspect. And he was sitting there watering his garden. And I walked up to him and I said, hi, my name's Al Argo. I'm that young college kid that's out selling in the neighborhood this year. And all of a sudden, that smile that he was wearing turned into a frown. And that hose pipe that had been pointed toward the ground, he began to point it toward me. And he wet me from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet. I want to tell you the truth this afternoon. That day, I did not walk away from that man. I picked up my bag, I picked up my samples, and as quick as I could, I ran because I was desperate for change. I called my father, and my father, I thought, would be sympathetic. I thought he would give me a break. I said, Daddy, I love you. Daddy, I miss you. Daddy, I cannot wait to see you. My daddy said, Al, we love you, and we miss you, and we cannot wait to see you, and we'll see you at the end of summer. You see, I had made a commitment to sail during my summer year, and my father was intent on me keeping my commitments. And my father said something else that day. He said, Al, I want you to focus on your attitudes and your actions. The A in Argo is simply attitudes and actions. You and I are where we are in life in large part due to our attitudes and our actions. Is that right? Now, for the last several days, I have gone around and I've asked, what's some attitudes, what's some actions that you are focused on? What's important to you? And some of the things that has come back to me, some people say, Al, I'm focused on being driven. Al, I'm focused on making my sales calls. Al, I'm focused on recruiting. I've had some people say, Al, I believe that the most important attitude I can have is an attitude of persistence. What's your most important attitude? This is a question I've been asking to a lot of people over the last several days. What's the most, and you've heard other speakers talk about their attitudes. You've heard other speakers talk about the importance of their actions. What's the two most important actions that you can have as a professional financial advisor? Number one, I believe it is in setting appointments. Correct or not? And number two, I believe it is in sitting in front of qualified prospects and making presentations. I've asked a lot of people, those are my two. What's your two? What's your most important attitude?